Hey folks, MasakoX here. Saiyans find it quite hard to get along at the best of times. Save for you being Goku, of course. Raditz, Vegeta and Nappa though, they all had their troubles figuring out what was best for them, with two of them not even getting the chance to fully go down that path of redemption. But then again, we managed to solve that ourselves, eh? For one Saiyan, this was not something that could be instantly fixed. This path to becoming a better person had something to do with figuring himself out first, instead of just being able to switch sides on a penny and changing minds because it was fashionable. And that does happen a lot in Dragon Ball. His turning good was much more gradual, more set in reality than some of our other stories. In the last part, Turles' former crew mostly stayed behind on Earth, remaining loyal to their original captain. But when it came to them, their original captain wasn't entirely sure in being loyal to them. But they did prove to be useful in their own special ways, and hey, better them doing good stuff for the Dragon Team instead of being problems out there in deep space for other folk. Anymore. For the Beans twins, they showed their adept knowledge of space tech to Bulma, and despite their abrasive nature at first, they did manage to get along and accelerate technology that Capsule Corp could produce. As for Amond, he found solace in baseball, and thanks to Yamcha, in finding a way to get an outlet for the more unpredictable member of the Crusher Corps. Turles was happy to see his boys getting opportunities to let off some steam and be productive, but he was really not in the mood to babysit them these days. He was more focused on himself, trying to figure himself out and how he was going to get the power of Super Saiyan for himself. Sadly though, come the arrival of the androids, he came up short and was unable to perfect the Super Saiyan transformation. But at least he was on the level of Piccolo and able to provide some sort of help and not being a liability. But all of this reassuredness that he had acquired was thrown away again when he found out that Vegeta had succeeded in doing what he couldn't and became a Super Saiyan off-world. On top of that, Kakarot was struggling with his own issues thanks to that pesky heart virus, meaning that Vegeta was effectively running the show here. Can Turles keep us cool and provide some more help in the Dragon Team's time of need? Let's resume. As the Prince of all Saiyans was lording it up amongst the Dragon Team members and a rather flummoxed Dr. Gero, the one who was struggling the most to process all of this was Turles. It was very hard to describe all the feelings that the former space pirate was experiencing and going through right now. First of all, probably one of the most important things to address here was that there should be a certain amount of rage related to the fact that Vegeta had beaten him to it in terms of getting to Super Saiyan. Yes, he should be absolutely livid right now. But then there was also a small sense of fear in that he wasn't feeling that way. Instead of abject frustration and lamentations about his own failures, for Turles right now, all he was experiencing was mild anger, like he was perturbed by something, instead of being positively peeved. All of this was because despite his upbringing and him winding up on that barren world with those other Saiyan rejects and outcasts, Turles still considered himself to be a smart person, especially for a Saiyan. He felt that he should have been deserving of more than what he actually wound up with. The consolation prize in his mind was him being able to make it with Elec and the Heeters, try and scrounge a living. Surely that was his penance in order to then achieve something greater, which was far more remarkable, destined for sustained greatness, right? Rather than living as a ad hoc space pirate. Sure, most people he knew would have considered him a streetwise type of person, rather than someone bookish instead of like Kakarot's kid. And this thing was the thing that he realized what put him above most other Saiyans. He understood, after many moments of soul searching, why he wasn't flying off the handle at this moment. This change of mood was simply because Turles saw a glimmer of hope. Yes, the prince got there first. That was something that would have stung no matter what the situation, but because he was even able to go Super Saiyan Vegeta and showcase the same traits that Kakarot and that future boy had done, and with methods vastly different to when Kakarot achieved it, it meant that there was more than one pathway in getting this power. It wasn't a legendary power after all, that only showed up once every 3,000 years or so. There could be more than one in a generation now, and that, in due time, is somewhere he could get, instead of jealousy filling his mind, right when everyone else was experiencing vastly different emotions. As Vegeta smirked at him mockingly, almost as if he were hoping that this display of power was giving him internal anguish, getting stuck under his craw. But he wasn't getting that. No matter, the prince thought, he had Super Saiyan. He had other things to occupy his mind, such as when he was mercilessly dealing with that automaton that had given Kakarot so much trouble. He was very unaware of the extent of Kakarot's woes right now. And as for the old Mandroid, well, that one seemed to be the one in charge, and he was looking pretty shocked by this twist in the proceedings. Was this it then? The mighty androids that the time traveler had foretold? Give me a break, Vegeta thought. This was nothing he couldn't handle. This almost felt like a waste of time. And where was that future run anyway? He was supposed to be here. Perhaps he saw Vegeta tanking these two with little difficulty and went back to where he came from in a fit of panic, to cower in his own ineptitude. Meanwhile, Yamcha was preoccupied with taking Kakarot home to rest off the effects of the heart virus. Hopefully he would survive all of this and that the future boy's help would work. It would be a shame for the first Super Saiyan of their generation to be simply taken down by some random sickness that anybody could have been stricken with. This was obviously a fate that simply would not fit the son of Bardock. Since Turles had been here, Goku's legacy had been put on a pedestal, held in much higher regard, almost as if Turles' influence had been rubbing off on everybody. Goku's importance was even greater here, not just him being their friend. He was the real deal in the galaxy. However, Turles could see that despite Vegeta's ability to deal with the larger of the two androids, he too was getting drained, not really taking seriously the technology that was put into these robots. If the prince wasn't careful, he might share a similar fate to Kakarot and be all out of juice, with nowhere to go. For now though, at least, Turles would refuse to use senzu beans on himself. For once, and he hated to admit it, Vegeta might need them more, since he was more likely to do some meaningful damage to their enemies. The pirate wasn't a priority. He right now was just one of the other lot, standing around and observing. And also, he wasn't very keen on depending on plant-based foods to keep him going anyway, even if they were vital in his development. It was like an old habit he was trying to break free from. He could not allow himself to become addicted to them and rely on them in times of need. He needed to be self-reliant. And what made him feel even less inclined to use them was that since 19 got wasted by Vegeta, the old man started to panic and fell back, escaping very quickly. Vegeta called out for a senzu bean and Turles, who was carrying them, was forthcoming. As Vegeta ate the senzu, he decided that he would chase after Jiro, with a weakened Turles, Piccolo and Amon following in his wake. Vegeta did comment on Turles being there and willingly helping him. "It's almost like old times, Turles, when you weren't trying to betray me with your games." "This is no game, Vegeta. Right now, we've got to work together and stop this before it gets worse." Grunted the prince, before leading the pack in terms of finding the doctor. "Mighty Turles, are you good to go?" boomed Amon, now feeling quite emboldened at the change of fortune for the team. "I'm fine. I'm just recovering." "Recovering? Oh, can't you take one of them?" "I said I'm fine!" He tried to make his compatriot make as little fuss as he could out of his current situation, but he felt that he was doing a very bad job at that. Everyone was now looking at him, puzzled as to why Turles wouldn't just take a bean or something like that. I mean, there were plenty of them, no need to ration them. "Look, don't worry about me. I'm good. But let's catch that geezer before Vegeta does. We can't let him have all the fun right now." Amon looked fired up. "That's the spirit, boss!" As the group caught up with the prince, Turles witnessed Vegeta just blowing up the canyon in a fit of pique, getting tired of having to scour them, finding out where the doctor had hidden, them not being able to sense his energy. And then future Trunks arrived on the scene, saving Bulma and her child from any further issues. It's in this moment when Piccolo, who was saved by Gohan as Vegeta destroyed the canyon, addressed the time traveler by name, and the cogs in Turles' head started to turn. As he looked at the baby carried by Bulma, and then to the future boy, everything fell into place. This upstart was it was destiny that Vegeta knew how to go Super Saiyan, of course! Yes. Well, that made Turles feel a little less sore. At the very least, Trunks seemed to be more amiable and easier to be around than Vegeta. He was a decent boy. Perhaps they could exchange notes about the manner of his original transformation once all of this was over? Turles getting some tips? He felt that Trunks would be less judgmental too than the prince would have been, and Bulma was able to throw another bombshell down on all of them, that the older android might actually be Dr. Gero himself, the creator of those androids. not just a facsimile. Trunks, however, reveals that these two are not, in fact, the mechanical terrors that he faced in his timeline. That older one is Jiro, but I never saw Jiro in my timeline. Something's changed. Turles grimaced at the news. Did the boy mess up by simply coming here to warn them about this? Should he have done it? Had he made things worse or made things go off in another direction that he had no clue about? Right then, Turles recalled a similar motif in one of Tide's books to what was going on right now. As in, one really should not be messing with timelines if they wanted to ensure stability in them. One false action or errant phrase might spell doom to all dimensions. Yeah, it was probably best left alone. Bulma had proven to be quite useful, as she knew where Jiro's laboratory was located, and that cut out a lot of guesswork for all of them. And, less needing into blowing up random bits of rock for hours. And also, not to mention, people needed to get away from the fact that Vegeta had let Jiro get away thanks to his bravado and grandstanding. In the end, Turles was finally persuaded to take the Senzu Bean by Piccolo, as they might need everyone on deck and at their full strength for this next battle. They had no idea what they had in store, and they couldn't rely on Vegeta to fully back them up. He might try and showboat some more and get himself killed. Well, I don't think I would lose sleep over it. As they chased the Doctor back to his laboratory, things started to click. They soon understood that he was about to release another two androids, 17 and 18. Those were the ones that Trunks was talking about. He was going back to stick another two droids on them like a coward, instead of going to simply hide it out. As Trunks tried to stop the Doctor, Vegeta blocked him. Don't get involved, Runt. I want to test my new power against them. Are you crazy? I'm trying to save you. They killed you in the future, and they'll kill you here. Turles looked at Vegeta and shook his head. As much as I would love to see you fail, Prince, I would listen to the kid if I were you. Of course the non-Super Saiyan would say that. Turles scoffed back. If that form's turning you into a fool, or more of a fool than you were, then I'm glad I don't have it. This tense atmosphere got interrupted, though, by Jiro's head floating near Trunks. Ah. Oh. Turles raised an eyebrow. 17 and 18 were awake whilst they were bickering. Thanks, Vegeta. Not only were the two androids handy in effortlessly destroying Jiro, also there was a third one, bigger and nastier than the pair of them. Not to mention that the three of them looked like some sort of weird teenagers? What? Hey you, are you Goku? You kinda look like Goku. 17 seemed confused as he looked at Turles. Easy mistake. No, my name is Turles. Then will you tell us where Goku is? I'm good. Kind of boring if you want to go for the main course already. See? The pirate is right. How about instead of looking for that loser, you deal with a real Super Saiyan? Vegeta looked pretty eager to fight them. 18 rolled her eyes. What do you think, bro? Are we gonna show the short prince and non-Goku our strength right now? If you insist, sis. Vegeta grinned at Turles. Don't get in my way. Oh, Turles had no intention of doing so. As the prince charged upon 18, much to Trunks' shock, it seemed like he was actually winning. Perhaps his warning had yielded results that were enough to change time after all. Turles, however, was much more cautious, trying that new opponent of his with some ranged attacks instead. And it was proving to be decently effective, despite not being a Super Saiyan. Turles liked a good fight, sure, like any other Saiyan, but he wasn't stupid. He tried a different tack by picking off 17 from a distance. Work smart, not hard, he thought. He started to notice that Vegeta's expression was changing somewhat. He wasn't having things going his way anymore. From a boastful, triumphant smirk, it suddenly changed into a more determined expression, maybe with a tinge of fear about it. Well, never mind, not his problem, Turles thought to himself. As he charged up his kill driver technique, he decided to use it in a manner that would hopefully restrain the android. The most unsettling thing, though, about this was this brat wasn't really doing much to respond. The android simply broke the technique without much effort. Is that all you got? Aw, come on, old-timer. You could do better than that. At least try and do some damage. I don't want to kill you right away. 17 mocking him. As that was going on, he heard a loud yell from Vegeta, as 18 had broken his arm with a spinning kick. This wasn't good. He needed to do at least a little bit of damage to respond. Turles charged up his power and started to barrage Android 17 with his sudden storm attack. But after an exhausting rain of ki blasts, 17 was right there, unmoved. Turles felt an itch that he hadn't felt in years. If he did nothing, failed to do anything, he would die. Thanks to this unorthodox pep talk, Turles decided to give it his all with one last gasp meteor break. He gathered his entire pool of energy in that one hit, focused, as his hair adopted a reddish tint, as his irises vanished, and his skin gained a little bit of a yellow tint to it, his mechanical hand exploding from the influx of power that was suddenly coursing through it. He felt something. He felt like he was changing. Was this Super Saiyan? He hoped it was, that it could give him some sort of an advantage here, but he wasn't sure. And as he charged up whatever this was with all that he had, feeling that his body was about to explode, 17 interrupted it and knocked him out with a single punch. Ha! What a letdown, 17 quipped as Turles' body hit the deck. As he lay there, next to Vegeta, who had already lost consciousness due to having 2 broken arms, Turles felt furious with himself, and for the first time in his life, completely broken, as he had failed to do even the slightest bit of damage to anyone. As his own consciousness faded, it left Turles with a feeling of disgust and impending doom. And that's where we're going to be leaving things right now. If you like the story where a Saiyan turned good, check out this story here, where that spiky head guy Vegeta stayed a baddie. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Catch you later!